Charleston's first poet laureate, Marcus Amaker, is out with a new book of poetry and musical album entitled Empath. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with Marcus one-on-one. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Marcus Amaker.
What's up, man?
How
are you?
I'm doing just great here.
Excellent.
I want to read to you the city paper headline. And it reads this: Charleston's poet laureate Marcus Amaker released his new book of poetry January 1st. We're 2 days from January 1st.
We are.
Who is Marcus Amaker right now?
Who is Marcus Amaker? He is a happy man because the holidays were very good, very peaceful.
Yes.
I had a sick cat, but now she's fine, so I'm very happy about that.
Yeah.
So I'm really good and excited to launch this project and let people know about it and start spreading the words again. You know.
And you talk about it, it's empath. And you actually said this: it's an abundance of love energy. Where's that energy coming from?
Wow. Well, it's definitely in this book and this whole project, which is right here. It's sort of me going backwards and forwards as well. I'm writing in a way that I wrote back in the day. So speaking of city paper,
Right.
it was about 10 years ago they did a story about me and called me the love poet. And actually that, it was really an honor to hear that, but it also inspired me to write in different ways because I was sort of known as a love poet back then. So I decided to kind of go back and write a lot of love poems. So that's one part of this book, are some love poems. But it's also sort of where I'm at now with my eye on social, media and social justice and issues that are, happening. So it's sort of a mixture of those, as well as a lot of poems about my family as well. I've been digging deep into family history and being inspired by those stories because both my grandmothers have passed, and I'm just trying to tell their story and let people know about them. So I've got photos of family in the books as well, and so it'll be interesting. And there's also a journal that comes with it as well, so to inspire people to write. So it's sort of a package deal, and there's going to be an album too that I'm working on to get that out as well too. So.
Yes, indeed, exactly right. And it says this, and you actually said this as well, quote, Empath is a project about connection and conversation. It's about the empathy that I feel for others on a small and larger scale. These poems are inspired by the classrooms I visited and the students who continue to spark me. There's an abundance of love energy in this work, inspired by my wife, my cat, and my family. And of course, it's about my deep love of Charleston. Let me go back to the top part of that particular quote. Empath is a project about connection and conversation. Who are you connecting with? And who are you conversating with when it comes to poetry and social justice?
Well, I feel like I'm connecting to Mother Nature with this book. The project and the sort of the theme of the book was inspired by the artwork because when I was just sketching out ideas for the book, I started to think about sort of circles and tree rings and how tree rings actually can look like fingerprints. If you look back at it, if you look at a tree ring, it kind of looks like a thumbprint.
Exactly.
And it also can look like a hurricane too, like if you look at it in the right way. So I think that there is some sort of a connection that Mother Nature keeps trying to tell us, that we are more connected than we are separate. So connection is a really big thing for me. So within the project, within the album and the book, the work that you'll hear and read, you're going to hear those sort of themes come back up. I've used a lot of words and metaphors that are sort of threaded throughout the whole thing. And with social justice work, it's just I'm just holding up a mirror to what I'm seeing, and telling stories and just telling people the truth, but also stories that I think aren't being told. For instance, lynchings. So that's something that we don't really talk about in our history that much, even though it has happened, and it's not that long ago that things were happening like that, people being hung from trees. So I decided to write about that and talk about how trees would feel about that. So making that connection, speaking for trees, also speaking for these people who lost their lives because of ignorance. It's I think it's important that to me, again, it's all connected. So the work that I'm doing in schools, students are really plugged in and really eager to hear just stories be told, and I'm encouraging them, of course, with the journal to write as well, but because I'm not special in the fact that I can tell these stories or write a book, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
You talk about the journal. I know that you want to inspire kids of all ages to write the poetry.
Mm-hmm.
What do you write in your personal journal these days?
It's basically, I use my written journal like people use their Instagram.
Right.
So I just write about what's happening throughout the day.
Yeah.
I'm taking photos with words,
Yeah.
and I'm just writing about it. So that's what I write about. I feel like this is a very blessed time of my life, being poet laureate and being able to go to schools and do things like this, you know. So I'm just making sure that I'm documenting that and whatever, passing on that legacy for years to come. But yeah, so I write about that a lot, and little things and, you know, just random things that I see throughout the day. So yeah.
And you talk about the album. You're obviously partnering with Quintin Baxter.
Oh yeah, man.
Why Quintin Baxter? Why now?
Quintin's great. Quintin and I have been working together for years. I've known him for a long time, and we strengthened our relationship about 5-6 years ago when I decided to do his website,
Right.
and do some posters for him as well, sort of be his partner in his
Right.
business. We actually did an album together 3 years ago that went over, you know, very well. So it was just time when I came up with the idea to do another book. I said, man, like let's do a music version of this book as well.
Yeah.
What's interesting about this book or this album with him, the first one that we did, I wrote poems and then he wrote music to it.
Mm.
So this one, he's writing music first and I'm writing poems to the music.
Wow.
So actually about half of the album's poems are in here, but I'm still writing some other stuff. So if you get the album, you're gonna hear poems that aren't in the book. So it'll be, yeah, but it's all connected.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And I went back and looked at my previous interview with you that I did at Mary Squid. I did.
Yeah. Jeez, that was a while
It was
back.
a while back, yeah, with the Power Shot camera.
Mhm.
But at the time, you told me, hey, you have already written 3 books.
Yeah.
What is the biggest difference between those 3 books and this one?
Yeah, I think this one is this is my masterwork, if
Mhm.
I had to say. I took a lot more time with this book, just making sure that what I put out there is exactly what I want it to be. Other books, we as artists, I think we have the tendency to rush through things and just get it out, just to get it out. But I'm in love with the process of writing a book and putting things together as well. But I made sure that this is sort of a masterwork. It is something that people can really connect to, and it is a perfect sort of reflection of where I am right now. I edited some older poems as well and put them in the book. So it's sort of refining some of the older work as well as a lot of new work. So this feels like the book that I want to push out to markets beyond Charleston as well. So that's going to start happening too. So
Oh, good.
yeah, so things it feels good. It feels good.
And you talk about feel good. Obviously, when we did the interview at the Goodyear Center just recently, this past summer, you basically said, hey, my future depends on whatever is love.
Yeah.
What's next for you in your future?
Oh man, that's a good question. It's just continuing to do the work that I'm doing and making sure that I'm using whatever platform I have for good. And by good, I mean opportunities for younger poets, for people of color as well, because doors are being opened for me that haven't been opened for other people. So I'm making sure that if the door's open for me, I'm going to bring in, some energy as well. So that's important for me. But also, just keeping focused. That's a big word for me this year, is to just be, it's next year, I guess, 2018, is to just be focused on continuing to push toward love and continuing to be an inspiration, hopefully, for younger poets, as well as continuing to be inspired. I'm not a complacent sort of artist. I'm going to keep on, moving. But I also want to make sure that I'm staying focused on what I have already done and not always looking toward the next thing.
Sure.
So I think that's what this project represents for me. is sort of being still in this, moment and trying to push this out. But also, yeah, just using my platform for good.
That's always good.
Yeah,
Always good.
yeah.
Well, Marcus Amaker, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thank you.
Likewise, and Happy New Year.
All right. Yeah, Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you.